Hello, guys. Hello. This is going to be my vlog for my Boston adventures and a teensy bit from Salem as well. So sit back and relax, and I hope you enjoy. So it was a beautiful fall day when I left, and the sun was shining. It was gorgeous out. I walked quite a bit of ways, and then I took an Uber the last little bit to the tour because I was running out of time to get there and getting a little turned around. So as you can see, the tour has started. There's a was it basketball monument or some sort of sports monument there with the flowers. One thing I really loved about Boston is they have beautiful architecture there. They build new buildings around their old structures and old buildings instead of just tearing stuff down, which I really think is cool. There's not a lot of that in the Midwest. So a lot of our buildings all look the same and are just the new style, but they don't really show any of the history or the art over the years or stuff like that. So I did really appreciate the building styles in Boston. I also really liked that there's the old stone look and brick and different things like that adds some color to the city. The sunlight hits the stone and looks golden. It hits the bricks and you have red and orange and just warm tones and warm colors, which I think is good for the human psyche to see color all around. So that was something I really appreciated in Boston. So as you can see, a lot of these buildings are historical monuments in Boston. So you can go up to them and read about what took place there or what historical background they hold. This next building, Malcolm X actually worked at one point, which is pretty cool. And JFK also had his bachelor party there, apparently. And they named it after him with the last hurrah, the bottom part of the building. They actually kept that name attached. Next up, I'm going to show you a number 6 hanging from this building right here, and that was put up in honor of Bill Russell. If you know sports, then you know that the league actually decided to retire his jersey number. So no one else is ever going to have that number again in the league. If you've already had that number before he passed, then you could choose to keep it, apparently. But they said that they're not making any more number 6s to honor him because he did not get his flowers when he was alive, unfortunately. People were very racist to him as an African American player, and he spoke very passionately about how terrible the racism was against him during his time in the league and in Boston. So, in efforts to honor him after his passing, they did put up his jersey in the city, and they have also retired his jersey. This next monument I remember learning about with my mom for school was about a general who led some of the first African American soldiers and wanted freedom across race. And people put up a monument for him after his death and originally did not include the African American soldiers, and his parents would not sign off approval on the monument and said that they had missed the entire point of what he stood for and that his men needed to be included as well, the brothers that he fought with. So they went back and added all the soldiers as well. And over top, the woman you can see over top of them is supposed to be an angel watching over them. Next up, we have a burial ground where lots of famous people were buried. Politicians, generals, different important people in history. One of the things we learned was that a burial ground was different than, a cemetery or something, but a burial ground was different because it was supposed to be for people across religion. It didn't have to be just for Protestants or Puritans or Catholics. It was across religion, so there's a lot of different people buried there. After the cemetery, our tour guide took us to get some drinks at the local pub right across the street, so that was nice. And we all just talked and spent some time there for a little bit. My group was great. Everyone was friendly. There was an older couple talking to me and another solo traveler there and giving us advice for our future solo travels and stuff. And it was just a nice time. And we did go by some nice neighborhoods in Boston, and people take Halloween very seriously there. There's tons and tons of all out decorations in houses and apartments. So we did go by a lot of those. And now let's cut to me live freaking out about how much fun and how much of a cool day it was and how much I learned in Boston. All rosy. Whenever I shower these days, I feel like my face looks red, but I don't know, the pink is kind of cute, but also I think I'm like a little blushy. Oops, what did I just press? No, I don't like that. Go back. I don't know, but also I think I'm a little blushy. Today was like super busy, like literally as busy as Universal Studios, the parks. Like at all the weekends, like it was that busy, so that was a little stressful. And then having my phone be like almost dead now, and I needed to find a way to get back into the city was also a little stressful, but not overpoweringly so, and I still had a really nice time. Both of my tours were really, really nice. My Boston tour was so nice. I made a friend, which was so nice. I didn't really do that my past couple solo trips, so I feel like the first time I went to Vegas was the last time I really made like a friend in another state, just on a whim like that. So it was nice to do that again. I cry if you see this. But yeah, that was really cool. And our entire tour group for Boston was so cool. Like everybody was really nice. We all like commented on stuff together. Our tour guide took us and got us all some beers. Like it was just very nice. It was just so much fun. And then for Salem, we had a nice group too. It was cold though because it got dark and the weather dropped dramatically when it got dark. But everybody was friendly on that tour too, and we had a nice tour guide for that as well. And it was cool hearing some of the history behind the stuff and hearing the history about like the first girls who were targeted in the Salem witch trials and what all that and what all happened there, and just like crazy stuff, and just hearing how people who tortured these girls then were like haunted after that. Like it was all just very interesting. The one thing that I didn't like about Salem was they didn't have any public bathrooms open. Like you had to go to a specific district to use a public restroom. I thought that was wild, because like everyone's going at this time of the year and bringing in so much money, but like you can't let them use the bathroom. Like I thought that was wild and a little stressful, but yeah, it was super interesting. So many historical things there too. It's just very, Massachusetts as a whole is just such a very historic and historically rich area. Like it was so interesting. But yeah, I had such a full day, like from 12:15 when I left till like 9:30 when I got back. Like it was just a very full day, and I'm so happy. I had such a good time. In my Uber back to Boston from Salem, Alright, and here's just a few pictures from Salem. So spooky houses. This next one was the house filmed at in Hocus Pocus, the original. And I will just tell you guys a story or two I learned on the Salem tour. So apparently all the mayors, I believe it was, of Salem kept dropping dead from very specific diseases for years and years after the Salem witch trials. And finally, they moved the office of the person who originally signed off on the deaths out of Salem. And once they did that, they didn't have that problem anymore. And all of a sudden, mayors could live there and do their jobs in peace. So legend has it that they needed to move the office of the person who authorized those deaths out of Salem to break a curse put on the town from a man who was wrongly murdered there. Because it wasn't only women who were accused of witchery during that time, but it was mostly women, and mostly women for just being vibrant and having personalities and doing things that anyone else considered weird or looking weird, etc. And the reason the trial stopped was eventually someone at the top of the chain got accused. I believe it was the person who was authorizing the death's wife. And so then he was like, oh, nothing to see here, and shut it down after so many lives had been wrongfully taken. So it was very interesting to learn about the hauntings and stuff of the town as well. Very, very, very interesting. And here we are, day 3. I had an evening flight, so I was going to spend some time in town for the rest of the day. I did end up taking off that wig a little after I got my food because it was bothering my head. I must be tender-headed. I don't know how you guys do it who wear wigs all the time. But I got some Chipotle and I went to the garden. And there were lots of squirrels doing their thing, being a little rambunctious. It was cool to see the park in the morning when it was nice and quiet and peaceful, because the day before when we went on the tour, it was packed in the evening. And it was pretty cool to see it super packed in the evening. It was giving Central Park. There were people playing the bagpipes, as you've heard. But it was very nice to see it nice and quiet too, and so peaceful. It was so pretty and so large. I walked around and around and around and found more and more and more. There were monuments, again, for different historical figures here. It was very cool. I did have to crunch on some leaves here. And even there were also little ones, of course. But it was another beautiful day, lovely sunshine, but nice and cool as well. Again, lots of friendly squirrels. I would love to see this in summer as well, since it is considered in the garden. And the trees have different tags on them saying what they are and stuff. Like that. But yeah, it was so pretty. I spent a good 4 hours here. It was very nice. I actually got mistaken for a Boston native twice while I was here. Once by a woman who was asking me, don't they usually have the benches here instead of there? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't even tell her I was visiting. My backpack instead of luggage bag had me looking inconspicuous, and I guess probably just like someone who went to Boston University. And then I was mistaken for a Boston native again later by someone who said, "Oh, you're looking beautiful as always today." I'm like, "Oh, thank you," even though I know they did not see me before today. So it was nice. I talked to just a couple people who stopped by to ask about something here. Here we're coming up towards a statue of Washington. I didn't know who it was when I was walking up from behind, but I thought the architectural landscape was really something with the bushes and then the skyline, and everything was just arranged very aesthetically. So there's some pans of that, and then here we're back to the gorgeous leaves and the bridge, the water, and all of this beautiful fall glory. And here I wanted to do some sunny, unflattering angle camera tapping for you guys with some nature sounds. The next touristy place I saw was Cheers, and that was the inspiration for the TV series Cheers. Like, they used the imagery of it. And I learned on my tour that the Cheers owners tried to sell merch for Cheers and got sued by the TV network, even though the TV network did not get permission to use the likeness of Cheers for the show. So that was interesting, but I had to get a few shots of Cheers. And next, I just walked around for a while, saw some more of the beautiful neighborhoods. Our tour guide did take us through Beacon Hills, which is like the wealthiest area and whatnot, the day before on our tour. And he actually got into like a tiff with a lady who lived there because she claimed that they like owned this like pebble alleyway, and he said that they didn't, and it was a whole thing. But he took some pictures of some people in front of the road because it was the only like fully pebble road left. I forget what it's called. It's not exactly pebble, but it's pretty much like that. So I'd seen some of that the day before, but I did walk around a little more to see more of the neighborhoods. Also, can we just admit that a neighborhood named Beacon Hills is insane? Like, what is this, Teen Wolf? But this picture right here was significant because it marked the place for the first public school in America, apparently. And so much history in Boston, really. I just did not realize so much until I visited and went on that tour. But that's what that was significant for. And then there's also a donkey outside and some elephants like footprint thingies outside as well to signify the political parties in the US. And after walking around for a while, I got some Starbucks, my mocha cookie crumble frappe, and I headed to the airport. I liked the Boston airport. It seemed very clean and quaint and efficient. So that was nice. Here's me realizing my flash was on. I meant to show that they switched my seat. I was originally at the back of the plane, and then they moved me up to slightly not the back of the plane, but I got the whole aisle to myself, which was really nice. But we did have more delays again, so we ended up being about an hour delayed again with this United flight to New York. So I almost missed my connection again, which was super, super stressful. I was like, oh my gosh, like I cannot, like I would most likely avoid United in the future unless it's absolutely the best deal and the best dates and everything all combined. And if there's a little more leeway for time of when I need to be somewhere and whatnot. But overall, it was really insane that all 3 of my flights, or all 4 really, because there was a connection there and a connection back, and all of my flights with United were delayed for this trip. There kept being technical issues with the planes, things falling off of the planes, and then they couldn't get to the gate, and it was absurd, honestly. But here's some lights from when we were flying into New York. It was nice having the aisle to myself and getting the window seat to take some shots like this. Otherwise, I would have been on the aisle seat and with 2 people squished next to me. I'll also say there was a lot of room on this plane, like in between your seat and the seat in front of you for just economy. And the seats were really comfy, a really nice headrest and everything. But again, I'd rather my flight not be delayed and not have stuff falling off the plane. So I'd rather, fly Spirit than miss my connections and have stuff flying off the plane and all that. But yeah, the views from the sky was very pretty, and I was glad I got the window seat for 3 of the 4 flights since there were 2 connections. So that was kind of nice. So here's some more of those lights. Flying into New York was very pretty. Flying over Washington was very pretty as well with the leaves. Then into New York, you can see all the big buildings, and it definitely makes me want to go visit New York, which I've been wanting to do. So just nice, pretty lights. And then just some lights as we were landing as well. It did start raining slightly after we landed in New York, and then we had to wait on the plane for a while since they couldn't get to the gate for some reason. So there was that. We were on the plane for like an hour after we landed, which was frustrating. They actually told people to let people out who had tight connections, but they also had us separated from our baggage because towards the end of the plane, the overhead bins filled up too quickly. So they said, just put your bag the first place you could find it. So my bag was quite a ways away from me, and I was trying to make my way back to it, but also letting all these people go ahead, and it was just so stressful. So many people had connections. The flight attendants were clueless and unhelpful. They didn't even open the overhead bins for people. They didn't help anyone with traffic, nothing. They literally did nothing. Which was the same as the other flight that was delayed. The flight attendant on that flight told us that 56 people had connections that were a few minutes until time because we were so late. And she was like, oh, but I'm sure you'll probably make it. And on that flight, like nobody made their connection, so that was wild. But thankfully, the second connection, I did in fact make my flights. I remember there was this girl who was so rude. Like, I tried to let her pass me and stop in the aisle so she could get past me, and she was like, no, I still have things. And I didn't realize it, but she had stuff taking up both aisles, and she took her time gathering her things from both sides on both aisles. I was like, oh my gosh, she looked evil. I had to sit back and think to myself, like, dang, like, why be so mean? What's with the stink face? Like, we all have places to go. I'm trying to let you go ahead of me when I have a tight connection. Like, no need to scowl. So that was very wild. I didn't know what her attitude was for, but I was like, dang, that's probably gonna catch up to you, girl. Like, no need to be so mean. But yeah, I also had an interesting man sitting on the aisle for my flight back to Ohio from New York. And he spilled his Red Bull like in the aisle, and he was eating, and he was making snide remarks like, when they said that please pay attention to your screens for a safety message, he was like, I don't want to pay attention. I want to get off the plane. Like, he was being very weird, so that was strange as well. But I also got the window seat for that flight back to Ohio from New York, so that was nice. But yeah, we did have turbulence on that flight though, so that was rough. And then getting an Uber back to my place from the airport was terrible because apparently we were all on like the last flight of the night, so the Ubers and Lyfts were getting snatched up so quickly, and it took me an hour just to get an Uber scheduled to get back to my place, and then it took me a good 25 minutes to get back, so it was quite late, like 1:30 by the time I got back, so I was exhausted, took a shower and went straight to bed. But yeah, guys, that's my Boston and Salem travels. I hope you could enjoy, and I hope to see you in the next video. Overall, I loved the trip so much. I fell in love with Boston. Salem was super cool to see as well. The actual traveling was so stressful for no reason with all the delays in United, and even getting the Uber back, just so stressful. But the actual trip was very needed and so nice. So I'm so happy I went, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.